Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and now we're going to go over iterating over multiple sequences. So we've iterated over a single sequence, but what if you have two lists? And this is similar to how like a database administrator would join two tables to get information where they use some sort of key, a primary key on a database to be like, oh, person zero goes with age zero or something like that. So you can think of it kind of like that. So we're going to list people and ages and then try to list the person and their age. That's the goal. Okay, so I'll start out by making a list of people and it'll be empty for now. And then we're going to start adding stuff to it. So we're going to put names in here. Nick, Rick, Roger, and Sydney. Okay, so those are our people. Let's add an age list, or ages list, and let's do 23, 24, 23, and 21. Well, I'll make them unique so you can kind of see it. 26 and 31. Let's make them all unique. Okay, so I have ages, I have people. Now, what I want to do is I want to assume that Nick is 23, Rick is 24, Roger is 26, and Sydney is 31, but I have to iterate through both lists to do that. And we can still use the for loop for this. And I can say for position, I'm not typing in here, for position in range, and then the length of the list people. All right, so that many, so 4. So for all 4 of those, person is going to be the people list and then at the index position. So the first position will be 0, so person is going to be Nick, right? So for position and range length, so the length is 4, so you're going to have index positions elements 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the first person, I'm going to set this variable to people, which is the table, and then I'm going to return the position, which is an integer, and since we're in a loop that's iterating, it starts at 0, so that should be person should equal Nick. That's the whole idea. And we need to assign an age as well. So age would be similar. Ages, and then the position, which would be 0, which would be 23. And then all we're going to do is we're going to print person, so that should be the name, and then age, which should be the age of the person. So it's just printing out our two variables. And that's it. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm just going to go back here, make sure you're in the right directory, and say Python, and then I just named this example. And we can see that Nick is 23, Rick is 24, Roger is 26, and Sydney is 31. So this works, but it's not super Pythonic. So we can change this a little bit. And if you remember, we used enumeration to find positions. And so we can change this up a little bit to do that. Some data structures, it's more expensive, as we say, like it takes more time, it takes more resources. It's more expensive to retrieve items by their position. So you can kind of do this over a single sequence to improve this using enumerate. So I can do for, let's see, so for position person in enumerate over people, okay, so that should give us a number and a name, a string. Okay, what do we want to do? We're going to say age is ages position, and then we're just going to print, we're going to print person and age because I'm grabbing person here through enumeration. So I just removed one line of code from this, and let me save it, and we'll run it again and see what it does. It does the exact same thing. So by using something a little bit more elegant, you can shorten your code up and make it a little bit more Pythonic. And and we'll explain exactly how this works. It's still not perfect. It's actually kind of ugly, but we are iterating properly on people now. But we're still getting age using this index kind of modality, and we want to try to get rid of that too. So instead, what we can do is instead of position, we can say for person, comma, age in, and then do you remember us doing the zip function? We can do zip people, and we're going to take people and ages and zip them into one object. And then all we have to do is print person age like this. And then we save it and we run it again and we get the exact same answer. So this is a lot better. If you compare this to the first code that I did, and we're now at half of the lines, which is great. And the reason I want to show this is because for two reasons. So first of all, I wanted to give you an idea of how much shorter your code in Python can be compared to other languages, but also, and probably more importantly, the for loop asks zip for sequence A, sequence B, which is people and ages, right? And the next element, it gets back a tuple, not just a single object. So the zip is going to get back a tuple, and we're able to grab both of those at the same time. And I think that makes a little bit more sense. And you can do this with any number of lists. Let's say they're all in a band, right? And we want to say, well, what instrument do they play? And we could say, well, instruments equals, and we'll make a list, and we'll just say drums, bass, guitar, and keyboards, or keyboard, something like that. Let me add a quote here. Yeah, so now I have instruments, and if I wanted to change this to make this work, I could do for person, age, instrument, singular, in zip people, people, ages, and instruments, return or print person, age, and instrument. And I save that, and then I'm going to run this. And I can see that now we're actually getting something. We're getting something back. And this is extremely, extremely flexible, right? I'm now able to add an entirely new list on which to iterate without having to add any lines of code. I just ask for more elements returned in things that are being zipped. So I have a tuple with 3 values, and I'm doing a for loop, which if you ignore this, it's kind of like saying for person in persons, or for person in people, or for age in ages, print age. So the equivalent of this, just to break this down, an age is a short one, so I'll do. So if I did for age in ages, print age, that might be a little bit easier to understand. So essentially what we're doing is we're doing 3 for loops at the same time, kind of, but they're simultaneous. So I'm saying for all 3 of these things, in all of these 3 things, print each of those 3 things. So it's the same thing as doing a regular for loop, except you're able to do it with multiple values, multiple that are returned as one object. So when these are zipped together, they're zipped together in a tuple, which is one object. So I'm saying for elements or objects inside of an object, print each element in that object. And that's how you handle multiple sequences, how you would iterate over multiple sequences. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, but hopefully that takes something that sounds really complicated and turns it into something rather simple.